What a wonderful way to begin our time together. Thank you. Well, welcome to First Unitarian Church of Pittsburgh. It is Sunday, November 2nd of 2025. I am the Reverend Dr. Kate R. Walker. I use the she, her pronouns, and I am honored and just delighted to serve as your minister of this beloved community. For those with visual disability, I'm a middle-aged, light-skinned female, mid-length hair. It's light brown, and I wear glasses. Today, I am completely covered in images of autumn and leaves, because I'm ready. And you, my beloved, are welcome here. If you are watching now on YouTube or in the future, you are welcome. If you are a longtime member who has been coming for many years, we're delighted to have you with such deep dedication and commitment. If this is your very first time with us, thank you for having the courage to make your effort to be here with us, figure out who we are, and join us on this long religious journey. We are a multi-faith community. We all are welcome with your questions. Sometimes we have answers, but whomever you love, however you arrived, you are welcome here in person or on YouTube. If this is your first time, we would love to get to know you. There is a welcome desk here in your left through those doors into the garden lobby. We would love to be in touch. Help provide your contact information. Or if you're online, get in touch with us through email or phone call. You can sign up for our newsletter. It comes out every Thursday. It's a mail-in, opt-in option on MailChimp on our main webpage down at the bottom. And we would love to hear from you and what your needs are in this community. And we also want to say we're a very, very active community. There's a lot going on, even just today. So in order of appearance, following this service, there is going to be a wonderful art reception directly below the sanctuary in our undercroft featuring the work of Mary Widener. And go with your heart open and your belly needing to be full. It's going to be absolutely delightful. And also today from 12 to 1, down in the Foz room, down that hallway to your right, join me from 12 to 1 in a conversation about what is a behavioral covenant and why are we working on one right now? We all seem to be getting along. Why are we wanting to talk about how to get along with one another? Well, for those who beckon their way down, bring some food downstairs, and there'll be more to fill your belly in spirit. Tomorrow evening, on Monday, November 3rd, Robert Pym, one of our wonderful members who went off to seminary, and Alice Carnes, one of our wonderful members, they're going to be off in a Samhain service and celebration. It's at 7 p.m. in the Schweitzer room, right through those doors. And they're asking, please come, 7 o'clock, and bring photos or keepsakes of your ancestors, your family or friends or pets who may have died this past year. And they will be leading a ceremony in the church garden, lighting candles of remembrance. And they welcome families with children that are 10 years or older. What is coming up next? Well, in 2 weeks, we are hosting on November 15th, it's a Saturday, we are hosting the annual Pittsburgh Cluster Assembly. And I'm very excited to have and when I say Pittsburgh Cluster, that definition is pretty loose, as it goes pretty much all of Western Pennsylvania, all the way up to North Hills, Meadville, and Erie. So we're going to welcome these wonderful people. You can register by going to the Facebook page for the Pittsburgh Cluster. You can register by going to our newsletter and finding a link. You can go to the UA for Pittsburgh Cluster. If you Google that, there'll be a link. And more importantly, what I really need is 2 or 3 volunteers who simply can act as hosts. Help manage the kitchen. You don't have to buy food. You don't even have to put out the food. You just have to help people welcome them into our community. So I just need 2 or 3 people who can act as hosts and welcome those wonderful people. That's a lot. Oh, wait, there's more. Sunday, November 23rd, after worship, we are so excited. It is our annual Thanksgiving lunch, and we're just so excited. Please, please plan on attending. We need you to sign up by November 16th. By November 16th, please sign up. I'll be there. My husband will be there. He doesn't know that. He's about to find out. when we're looking forward to having everybody there as well. I also am keenly aware that some of our members are very frightened right now about their ability to purchase basics like groceries. And so I want to make sure that if you are vulnerable and economically, please reach out to me. We have resources in our community for those who may be at risk of losing their government funding from the feds or even the state at this point. So please reach out to me by email or phone call, and we have resources for you. And we welcome all who are able to donate to this special discretionary fund. If you have some resources, I think they're going to be needs. And yeah, they're going to be needs. So I invite you to take a deep breath and arrive in body and spirit. As we turn to our chalice lighting, this is the symbol of our faith, 2 circles with a flame in the middle upon a beautiful chalice. I invite you in this beautiful morning, as we look at the theme of our month of courage. How do you support your courage in this world? How do you feed your courage? And where might your courage best be used in this world right now, today and going forward? Even lighting a flame takes courage. There we go. And patience. And dedication. And clarity. And commitment. Thank you. We turn now to our opening hymn, number 34, Though I May Speak with Bravest Fire. I invite you to stand as you're able in body and spirit.
Good morning. Please join me in the collective reading. Love is the power that holds us together and is at the center of our shared values. We covenant to practice interdependence. We honor the interdependent web of all existence. To practice pluralism. We celebrate that we are all sacred beings, diverse in culture, experience, and theology. To practice justice, we work to be diverse, multicultural, beloved communities where all thrive. To practice transformation, we adapt to the changing world. To practice generosity, we cultivate a spirit of gratitude and hope. To practice equity, we declare that every person is inherently worthy and has the right to flourish with dignity, love, and compassion. We are accountable to one another for doing the work of living our shared values through the spiritual discipline of love.
Thank you. I'm wondering if anybody would like to come down and sit with me here in these steps and the pew. And this is children of all ages. Now, I know that means like everybody in the room. But I'm wondering if there's any here that might want to come on down who particularly feels compelled to hear a true story. Come on down wherever you're comfortable, in the steps or the pews. Come on down. Oh, Pirates fan, I appreciate your dedication. Appreciate that very much. So, several years ago, when I decided to go into seminary, to become a minister, just before I went, I met an extraordinary man. He was a priest, and we became friends. And then when in seminary, I actually got to take a class, and his name was Matthew Fox. His name was Matthew Fox, and he was a priest. Have some of you heard about Matthew Fox? A few? Yeah, Matthew Fox. So this was many years ago, but shortly before I met Matthew, he had been silenced by his church. What does that mean, to be silenced? He was told by his church, this was I don't want to point fingers, but it was pressure by his order, the Dominicans, from the Pope, who said they didn't like what Matthew was saying. So they silenced him, which means he could not speak publicly, like this, and he couldn't write and publish books either. For 1 year, they said, you are silenced. A whole year, he couldn't speak, and that's what he did. He was a wonderful public speaker, and he had a lot of books. He had books about original blessing, meaning that we're all part of a blessing from the very beginning of all the earth. And he had books called Sheer Joy. And I mean, why would you want to silence somebody who talked and said, sheer joy for all of us? Well, it's because he thought women should have rights. Yeah, at that time, this is, a long time ago, or not that long ago. Still. And he thought that people should express their sexuality and should be blessed however they are born in this world. So the Pope said, you can't talk. 1 year. So what did he do for that year? He listened. He went down to South America several times, and he talked to other people who had been silenced by the Pope. And they shared their stories quietly and again. And then he listened to the people who were oppressed in South America. And he listened, and he listened, and he prayed. And he was in silence sometimes by himself. And at the end of 1 year, on the very first day, the ban had been lifted, and he could publicly speak again. And he stood up in front of that microphone. Do you know what his first words were? Anybody know what his first words were? Now, where was I? Now, where was I? He didn't miss a beat and continued right on. Well, there was a separation between him and the church after that, and he became an Episcopalian, which is wonderful. And I met him shortly after that and then got to take a whole class with him where he talked about all the mystics of the Middle Ages and how powerful, particularly the women's voices were from out the Middle Ages. It was one of my favorite classes. So, my encouragement, if everybody once in a while is said, I'm going to be silent, not because somebody else says I should be silent. I choose to be silent. Do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to listen. And I'm going to let the silence be for a little while. Because I think in the silence and the listening, we can learn. But it's my choice, right? It's my choice, yeah. So, I offer you the teachings of my friend Matthew Fox. And don't forget where you are in the middle of a thought. Okay? Yeah. So this month we're talking about courage. And sometimes it takes courage to speak, and sometimes it takes courage to be silent and be quiet. And both are equally powerful, right? All right. Who's courageous around here? Anybody courageous around here? Some of you think I'm kidding. How many are courageous around here? Yeah. And if you don't feel courageous, nuzzle up to the person next to you. You'll feel more courageous, I promise. All right, we're going to sing 10-10. As we sing our children out, we invite you to let them know how much they're loved.
Oh, we give thanks. We give thanks for this precious day, for our gathering, for this time we share with love and care. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day.
You can introduce yourself. You want to introduce yourself?
Sure.
Yeah.
Good morning. My name is Daniel Cervansky, and I'm speaking for my family, my spouse Elizabeth, and my children Haven and Ray. We first discovered Unitarian Universalism about 15 years ago when we realized that something was missing in our lives, a spiritual home and a true sense of community. We didn't feel connected to traditional faiths, and in some ways, we even felt alienated by our past experiences. When we found the UU community, it was like a breath of fresh air, a place where questions were welcomed and differences were celebrated, and where we could explore what it meant to live with compassion and purpose. Over the years, our lives have taken us to many different places, and in each new home, it was our UU congregation that grounded us, reminded us that open-minded, kind-hearted people can be found anywhere, and that the shared values of love, justice, and inclusion transcended geography. When we moved to Pittsburgh in 2019, we began attending First Unitarian and quickly felt the same kind of sense of belonging. Just as we were beginning to feel truly at home, COVID arrived, and like for so many, everything changed. During that long hiatus, so much changed for us. Ray grew from a toddler into a little kid. We became foster family and adopted Haven. Jobs changed, and we learned to adapt to the rapidly changing world. And while we were happy, something still felt off. Through all of this change, this church stood here, waiting for us to realize that it is what had been missing. We love the openness and the diversity of voices that we hear from the pulpit, speakers who challenge us to think critically and compassionately. We love the incredible religious education program, especially the OWL program, which I think is one of the most important programs that this church offers. And we love the community events, the shared meals, the laughter, and the genuine conversation that reminds us why this place matters so much. For us, becoming members was an easy decision. This congregation has given our family a spiritual home, a place where we can grow, give back, and share in something larger than ourselves. As we look to this coming year, we hope you'll join us in supporting this church that supports all of us by giving as generously as you are able. Every contribution helps sustain the programs, the staff, and the spirit that makes this community thrive. Thank you for your generosity, for your warmth, and for being part of this beloved community with us.
And it is November, the beginning of the month, so we also have a Share the Plate. And I am so excited that it's Community Food Bank by your vote. And what a better, it couldn't be a better time. So Sarah, come on up.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Sarah Wagner. I am a community fundraising coordinator at Greater Pittsburgh Community Food Bank. So first of all, thank you for selecting us for your Share the Plate program for the month of November. I can tell you that if I was here about a month ago, I would probably have a very different message about the work that we're doing at the food bank. With the current government shutdown and changes to important programs like SNAP, we are seeing an increase in need that I think is even surprising our most senior employees. In the past week, we saw about a double amount of people coming to our on-site food pantry, our direct distributions, and we just anticipate that need growing in the coming months. Every $1 donated to our organization allows us to help put up to 3 meals out into the community for our neighbors who need it. So your partnership is coming at the perfect time where those dollars are going to go really far to help as many people as possible. The mission of the food bank is to leverage the power of community to achieve lasting solutions to hunger and its root causes. And our vision is to see a future where communities, where everyone has access to the food and resources they need to thrive. Although everything around us seems to be changing very rapidly, and we might not know what next week or the week after is going to look like for us or our neighbors, the mission and vision of our organization is going to stay the same. I am a very proud food banker. I could talk about what we do at my organization for hours, but I will spare that for all of you. I will be around after the service if anybody has any questions about the way that we're currently reacting to the government shutdown, the SNAP benefits. If you are looking to get involved, I'd be happy to talk more about the organization. But really, again, just wanted to say thank you for thinking of us, and we're very grateful for your partnership. Thank you.
We hold each other in our hearts and minds with all our joys and all our sorrows. We remember those who are experiencing losses of various kinds and those facing health challenges. We are aware that many are faced with heightened difficulties presented by these times that continue to be challenging for us all. May those who suffer or mourn find peace. May those who hunger or thirst be quenched with nourishment and sated with the elixir of life. I invite you to light a candle, drop a stone in the water during the offertory hymn to acknowledge your joys and sorrows. Thank you.
We invite the ushers to please come forward at this time, and we invite your generosity as we do the work and the mission of this community. And all of your gifts will be shared 50-50 with the Community Food Bank unless you designate it otherwise. Such talent in our community. I have so much gratitude for all this wonderful, wonderful talent. And I know many of you are wondering, can I do that? Just check in with Ellen. You might. Yeah, she welcomes more people. Absolutely. I invite you now into a time of deeper reflection. There are many joys and there are many sorrows, as the wonderful words of this beautiful song we just reminded us. I do love Ruth Moody. I do. Yeah. I invite you, beloved, to share those joys and sorrows with one another. They are enriched when we share them. I invite you into a time of silence or meditation or personal prayer. Spirit of love, help heal our wounds. Help ease our fear. Spirit of love, remind us of your strength. Remind us of your comfort. May the Spirit of the Holy, the God of many names, that has been with us throughout the ages in our times of trials and challenges and our times of celebration. In this community we gather, a community with many voices and many needs, but with one common vision, a vision of peace and prosperity, of equity, of compassion, and human dignity. A community where we're held with love in our eyes, in our lips, in our ears, and in our touch. We bring our prayers together for the election on Tuesday, that all will go well in our democratic community. We hold our prayers together that the shutdown in the federal government will end with health insurance renewed for all. And we hold ourselves together in prayers for our Pennsylvania legislators, that they too may find common ground. Beloved, we need courage in these days. We need a deep and abiding, faithful courage. May we find it renewed as we recommit to all that we care for in body and spirit. Blessed be and amen. I invite you to stay seated. For 10:18, come and go with me. Excuse me, wrong one. 10:59, may your life be as a song. That's even better.
Today's reading, is Celebration of the Human Voice by Eduardo Galeano. Their hands were tied or handcuffed, yet their fingers danced, flew, drew words. The prisoners were hooded, but leaning back, they could see a bit, just a bit down below. Although it was forbidden to speak, they spoke with their hands. Pinio Ungerfeld taught me the finger alphabet, which he had learned in prison without a teacher. Some of us had bad handwriting, he told me. Others were masters of calligraphy. The Uruguayan dictatorship wanted everyone to stand alone, everyone to be no one. In prisons and barracks and throughout the country, communication was a crime. Some prisoners spent more than 10 years buried in solitary cells the size of coffins, hearing nothing but clanging bars or footsteps in the corridors. Fernandez Huidobro and Mauricio Rosenkopf, thus condemned, survived because they could talk to each other by tapping on the wall. In that way, they told of dreams and memories, fallings in and out of love. They discussed, embraced, fought. They shared beliefs and beauties, doubts and guilts, and those questions that have no answers. When it is genuine, when it is born of the need to speak, no one can stop the human voice. When denied a mouth, it speaks with the hands or the eyes or the pores or anything at all. Because every single one of us has something to say to the others, something that deserves to be celebrated or forgiven by others.
When I was in college, I was studying communications, speech communications and mass communications. And in one of my speech communications class one day, the professor asked us to contemplate which would be worse, losing our hearing or losing our sight. In many ways, it's a ridiculous question, but it packs a powerful punch, and as it did for me when I was 20 years old, as I'm still remembering it, it forces us into a contemplation about living without one of our important senses. I couldn't make up my mind then, and I still can't. I hope I don't have to find out. But the question also misses all the important senses in our body. Touch. If we've ever had numbness, we can't feel the touch of another human being. Smell. COVID taught a lot of us about the importance of smell because then you can't taste as well. And speech. We probably all have someone in our lives, friend or family or colleague, who has had a stroke and has lost a powerful part of being a human being. And what we've also learned is that when we lose one sense of touch, our body shifts its focus. And in that moment, as our senses start to take over for each other and start to adapt, we learn how powerful we can be because we need to communicate with one another, to find ways. Eduardo Galeano's powerful testimony in the reading we just heard said every single one of us has something to say to the other, something that deserves to be celebrated or forgiven by others. Every single one of us has something to say, requiring courage, our theme of the month. And every one of us will find a way, even if words are not an option. We will break the silence by word or by deed, by act. Because of this driving need, I think that humanity and our evolution, that probably we learned very quickly that speech is an important political tool or a weapon, depending upon where we are in that spectrum of power. Speech, in one sense, is so important that we in the United States have enshrined it in our Constitution within the First Amendment. Quote, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof or abridging the freedom of speech. Abridging the freedom of speech. Well, we have learned through the years that it's not a black and white either or problem, is it? There are, of course, limits, we have learned. And we sometimes are surprised to discover how many limits there are. Inciting violence or imminent threat, cannot use free speech, and fraud or defamation. There's also, you cannot engage in child pornography, obscenity, fighting words, perjury, blackmail, incitement to imminent lawless action, treason, plagiarism. None of those are protected by free speech in our Constitution. Over the years, the courts have drawn lines and then erased them. They've blurred them, they've moved them. Particularly vexing and confusing for our courts are what are fighting words? What do we mean by incitement to violence? And what do we mean by imminent threat? In all of these, the bar is high to establish in a court of law. And despite all the confusion of the courts, though, the United States government stands firm. We were, several years ago, at the United Nations, had a resolution condemning the glorification of Nazism. We were one of 3 countries that refused to support that because of our commitment to free speech. We love it and we will protect it even if we harm others deeply. When we put religion and free speech together, we land right here with Unitarian Universalist long commitment to freedom of the pulpit. Yet, any clergy, and I will add politician, worth their education and survival instincts, know there are limits. Mostly, they are socially enforced by civic expectations. Many, many years ago, I was invited by a roommate when I lived in Boulder, Colorado, long before seminary, but it was in the inkling. She invited me to a church she was attending. I'm not going to say who, it doesn't matter, but it wasn't Unitarian Universalist. And it was packed. The church was packed with lots of young people, and I thought, oh, this is cool. And then I discovered through the service that a beloved member had died recently, and people were there with their broken hearts. It had been a long illness. And the minister, in his pastoral message and in his sermon as well, condemned his people for not taking care of their beloved member well enough. And I thought, whoa, that's a line I would never cross. Judging, condemning, critiquing people with broken hearts. Yeah, I didn't need to go back again, but it was very, very much a memory for me because it reminded me of the guardrail that politicians and clergy often go by. It's a general guardrail that we should not cross that says, comfort the afflicted and afflict the comfortable. Yet today in religious, political, and social world, the guardrails are not only being moved, they've been removed completely. The afflicted are being assaulted, and the comfortable are highly protected. The increasing assaults by the right-wing provocateurs are demanded their day in the limelight of America's very short attention span, hour by hour, minute by minute, throwing fuel into this fear of divisiveness that we are now living in. The New Yorker, several years ago in June 2018, did a deep article about free speech. and noted that the journey and that over the article of the progressive movement in the 1960s, remember all of those wonderful demonstrations, University of California at Berkeley and all across the nation, and then the 21st century conservatives intentionally triggering confusion and chaos. Their intent is to disrupt. Hold that thought for a moment. Well, to help set the context, the New Yorker offered a description of one Milo Yiannopoulos. I know it's a tough one. I'll hear about this. Yiannopoulos, I think is how you pronounce it. You may remember Milo. He was a self-described poster child of free speech who has inspired many, many others. In the New Yorker described Milo this way: as a right-wing professional irritant named Milo Yiannopoulos, a former Breitbart editor and self-proclaimed internet supervillain, quote unquote. He was known less for his arguments than for his combative one-liners and protein peroxide blonde hair. Another word for supervillain is troll. And whenever too many news cycles passed without any mention of him, Yiannopoulos showed up somewhere unexpected, such as the White House press briefing room or a left-leaning college campus, hoping to provoke a reaction, end quote. That was his game, still is, inspired many, just not in the forefront as much as it used to be. And whether or not the First Amendment is the most important topic on college campuses, which is what the New Yorker argued at that time, free speech and what it means in different contexts is the biggest test of our 21st century world in many ways right now. In hindsight, we have to recognize that the authors of our Constitution could not have imagined the internet, social media, tweeting, texting, Instagram. Those authors engaged in pamphlet wars and corner debates. They could not have imagined the volume and the speed. The alt-right has recently shown their level of divisiveness is full of hypocritical potholes that they won't hesitate to step in because they don't care. The recent horrific murder of one political provocateur is held up as a hero of free speech, and anyone who condemns their hero is then attacked. They don't care about the hypocrisy. And please note, when they attack virtue signaling, we all engage in virtue signaling. It is a human defense mode. So next time you feel yourself getting defensive, ask your virtue to take a step aside. Many people offer as a defense, it's just words. It's just words. Words can't hurt us. That English rhyme rings in our ears, and it is horribly wrong. 21st century research has shown that words such as stereotypes, they corrupt and inflict emotional harm. Words can stir others to engage and act on actions they otherwise may not have engaged in. Our minds, we've discovered, are far more pliable and influenced than we care to admit, particularly on a subconscious level. So we have expectations that we should grow a thick skin is naive and cruel. Words matter. I suppose we must believe that, or I might as well resign and stop talking now. I am here to use my words to influence you. The situation, though, in our country is worsened when there is a constant stream of lies and misinformation. Much of what Yiannopoulos was saying in that emotionally addictive provocateur club, I'm having trouble speaking today, ironically, when there's lies upon lies, and we don't know it unless you're taking the time to pay attention, and yet they keep tweeting, they keep going because they know the American public is hypersensitive right now. We all are keep being reactive to all of the constant triggers. And this preferred method has been honed to a perfection of mixing truth and lies, just enough truth to make it all seem viable. Back in 2019, this was, of course, starting to see the cutting edge of this, and I wrote in a sermon at that time when I was serving in Virginia, I wrote, "We must recognize the corruption of democracy. The patterns of despots and fascists is to attack the press and attack truth. They claim authority then as the truth teller, manipulate, divide us into us versus them. We, my friends, are in mortal danger if we do not recognize and counter this pattern." End quote of myself from 2019. My beloved, we are now in that mortal danger. Some more than others, some who are more vulnerable. They are being crushed and thrashed about. So where are the guardrails when they've been removed? The courts can't keep up. And while many civic covenants have been trashed, they are still the primary enforcers of those guardrails. We, me, you, our friends, we must lean into the public debate with clarity about those guardrails and name that we also have an opportunity to examine how the guardrails of the past have protected the systems of white supremacy. And for many, just blowing up those guardrails is actually what is needed, depending upon where you are. So for some of us, disruption, it's how you do it, right? When we're dismantling the systems of white supremacy, dismantling the guardrails may be exactly what's needed, but you do it with truth, with compassion, with integrity. Who has access? Who is speaking? Are questions we must now ask. It matters who is holding the space. And if the cisgendered, primarily white male upper class can step aside and no longer be centered in the conversation, it allows an opportunity for others who have less power and opportunity to speak. Our democratic republic also is at a crossroads of who has access to the modes of the free speech. Our internet right now, right? When we started the internet, the idea was that it was a voice, a platform for everyone, right? Access for everyone to one another, yet those very platforms that were started for full access are now owned by the uber wealthy, and they're using highly manipulative, dedicated algorithms so that we do not have full choice. Who has access? Who is speaking, or opportunities right now we need to grab onto? We are in this flex point, and the goal is to reduce the harm. To reduce the harm. So I keep coming back to an important part of that First Amendment. Those founding fathers and their admonition that the only way to maintain and save our democracy is for the church to serve as the moral arbiter. I know I'm trying to earn my paycheck here, but seriously, that is why religion is also listed, and it's listed first. An important role. Can religious institutions offer strong enough teachings of conscience and wisdom? We've been doing it for a long time, so I think the answer is yes. We just need to start using those modes better. We need to preach and to teach with a faithful dedication to the values that we have been honing for so very long. So let's look at right here in this room at Unitarian Universalists. We have a little microcosm of the universe and the country right now, but we maintain values that actually speak to most people. And if these values are the guardrails that we need, So I'll offer, just for today, equity. It's not a reflection on its greater potential, it's just one that I like. We declare that every person is inherently worthy and has the right to flourish with dignity, love, compassion. How we share these values matters in word and deed and song and dance and prayer and ritual. And it's not just what we say, it's not just how we write it or even play or sing. It's all the ways that speech happens. And we work within our civic and religious covenants. We start with something, though, that is even more fundamental than speech. It's about the silence. It's about the silence. That is the craft of the artist. Galeano's story of those prisoners who are not allowed to speak is a story about how humans connect through all of our different senses, even when one is cut off. We shift our focus to one another, and then each time we shift, there is a moment of silence, when, like an artist, we craft something new. This is a powerful flex point. Several years ago, I worked with a man named Joel Ben Izzy. Joel lives out in the Bay Area of California. He's a professional storyteller. And Joel lost his voice due to cancer. I know, a storyteller losing his voice is akin to a preacher losing my voice. Ben's professional life and his whole personal identity totally relied on his ability to tell stories to audiences all over the world, and rich stories of wisdom and laughter and fear and love. And when Ben lost his voice, he began experiencing the fruit and the wisdom of all of those stories that he had been telling for so many years, the full spectrum of emotions, but mostly he was experiencing misery and fear. Yet fortune did follow him. The cancer tumor was removed and treatment was successful, but he still had no voice. Through a year of medically enforced silence, he managed a path to happiness with the help of a wise friend named Lenny. And Lenny spoke to Joel in many different ways. It's the silence, he said. It's how we give shape to the silence that matters. Quote, silence is the gift, is the canvas. Silence is the canvas. It's the clay from which we shape the world, the marble at which we chip away. We begin with the silence, and it was in the silence that Joel found his happiness. He was forced to pause in his pursuit of happiness. He healed old wounds. He faced that threat to his life, and he found that he was right where he needed to be, that happiness was present in the quiet moments of his life with his wife and his children and his community. Technology did find Joel. A voice box was placed in his throat. And with time and training, he was able to tell stories again. Only he began to do so with a clearer understanding of the impact he had on others. And he did so knowing silence was where he began before choosing his words. And that is exactly the point that religious teaching can most help. The impulse to retaliate with greater rhetorical force when we've been triggered needs a space of silence, of pause. For then the old patterns can be broken. Vitriolic rhetoric that ramps up with personal insults doesn't escalate into satisfaction. It never does. It devolves and devalues and betrays our best self and our highest character. I know every one of us, when we've heard that rhetoric, we want to shout back. it doesn't work, my friends. Silence used as a weapon has the potential to shift. Silence used as a tool has the potential to help us evolve. When the artist returns to the canvas, we find new ways to share our messages. It can be an invitation, for example, for others to find their voices, others who can come in as advocates and witnesses. And then the silence becomes a vocal point to shine a bright light on where we can go next. And it's where we begin to craft our message from a grounded values of dignity and love and compassion. Not hate, but love. Not fear, but trust and faith. Shortly after Joel reclaimed his voice, he went to visit his friend Lenny again. And he found that Lenny had returned to drinking following many years of sobriety. His friend was in a bad space. And from the depths of that pain, Lenny asked Joel, "When does the night end?" That is the question asked of the rabbi of his disciples. "Does it end when you can see the morning star?" asked one disciple. "No," said the rabbi, "that is not the time. Is it when you can see all the lines on the palm of your hand?" asked another disciple. "No, that is still not the time," said the rabbi. "Then when?" asked the disciples. The rabbi said, "When you look at your neighbor's face and see that is your own, then at last the long night is over." It is in this ancient relationship between religion and all of our human efforts to be civilized, to be kind, that we have been navigating again and again, relearning how to carve out of the silence of the universe. Religion is protected as much as speech because we humans desperately needed to be reminded of this repeatedly. We're a little thick sometimes. But we come again and again because we need to be reminded that every person has the right to flourish with dignity and love and compassion. And out of that silence, we carve the words asking for forgiveness when we fail, and celebrations when we find happiness. So my charge to you, my beloved, find your courage. It's probably tucked away, maybe on a bookshelf with some inspiring writers. Maybe it's in the back seat of your car or in the boot. You just forgot to unpack it. Lean into the silence of our lives with your courage and speak and trust yourself to say the right words. Choose carefully. And as you do so, imagine you're looking into the face of your neighbor. Let us trust one another. Let us trust each other not to do harm but to heal, to act with kindness even when we are challenged, to sing with joy when we learn, to pray with tears when we fail, to speak knowing how much our words matter. May it be so. Blessed be. And thank you for enduring my very long sermon. I had a lot to say. Come and go with me. 10 to 18, stand as you're able in body and spirit. invite you to remain standing as you're able as we extinguish our chalice. The words are found in our hearts as well as our program and the screen. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Go forth into this world, my beloved. Go forth into this world with courage, knowing that you are beautiful, that you are brave, that you have some things to say, and then go forth and figure out of the silence, what do you want to say? Return with love in your heart, always. Blessed be.